Devonta Wyatt, you're going to see some similar stuff that you saw from Jordan Davis, but I think they play in a different way. Obviously, he's not as big as Jordan Davis because no one on earth is. But
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upside alert. Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope. I'm going to drink bleach. That is
the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.
Welcome to the Birds vs. Boys NFL Draft Prospect Preview Show. Back again for a second year. It was one of our best shows last season, breaking down the NFL Draft prospects. So we brought it back to make a triumphant return, going through some of the guys that we think our teams are going to select, breaking down their tape, doing it YouTube style, and seeing how they would fit with our teams based on their traits. So I am Aidan. I am here with our well-respected producer Vince. So what we're going to do, we are going to have a full podcast as we do every single week, but each of these player breakdowns is going to be its own individual video on YouTube. So if there's a guy that sticks out to you, a guy you want the Eagles or Cowboys to get, you can find that breakdown on YouTube. We're going to be playing some clips in the background, going over the tape together. So if it might be a little bit easier to see the tape on YouTube, but we're going to be talking about these prospects, talking about their weaknesses, strengths, traits, everything, fit, all of it in podcast form. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, Birds vs. Boys, and it's going to be everywhere that you can find podcasts as well. So I've got my little red book right here. It is filled with a bunch of notes on the prospects that we got. Look at this little thing. Look at this little book.
That's better than you were using like a legal pad before, right?
I did have a legal pad before. This is a little bit more organized, but also not really. If you're watching on YouTube, look at these notes. How am I going to be able to read this? I hope I have this shit memorized because there's no way I can read this handwriting. Look at this. This looks like Ben Franklin's first Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah, it turns out you're not pronouncing names wrong. You're just reading them wrong.
No, yeah, I was going to say, everything's you can't read it. That's probably why I can't pronounce anything. So I have my notes on each of these prospects. Vince, who, if you don't know, we've been joking about it for weeks, but we should probably congratulate him. He got a job working for Warren Sharp at Sharp Analysis. So they do a great job of taking it a step further analytically and statistically with a lot of these guys and a lot of NFL players. So he's got some stats to back it up. So generic plan, I'm going to run through what I like about these guys on YouTube, and Vince is going to hit you with some of the stats that they have over there at Sharp Analysis, and together that should be good. So let's get it started. Vince, do you have anything you need to tell the people before we get into it? Anything you've got?
Not really. I think let's just get into it.
I was about to say, let's just do it. So I think what we're going to do, if you're listening to the podcast, we're going to break it down into positional categories. So for the Eagles, I know positions of need that have been rumored that they are targeting are wide receivers and edge rushers. So in a deep wide receiver class, in a position that people love, let's start with the wide receivers first. And let's start, this might not be the hottest name on the streets, but I think this is the most predictable, obtainable guy for the Eagles, Chris Olave out of Ohio State. Number one, before we even get into the film breakdown, imagine Merrill Reese saying the last name Olave after a touchdown. Just think about, put that through your brain. That's think right away, right there, you would love it. So before we hit play on the film, I just want this disclaimer out there. We did not do one for Garrett Wilson. I love Garrett Wilson, but I think he'll be off the board. That's the only reason why we didn't do it. So his running mate, Chris Olave, what do you think? Garrett Wilson off?
There's no chance he makes it to 15.
Correct. Yeah. So
unless we're like stunned by the amount of like offensive linemen and edge rushers off the board, I don't think there's a chance Garrett Wilson gets to 15.
Yeah, there's some miraculous run on quarterbacks after everyone's saying it's a weak quarterback class. That's the only way Wilson is there. So if you came here for the Wilson breakdown, I'm sorry. We just didn't think our teams had a chance, even though we do love him. I love Garrett Wilson, probably the best wide receiver in the draft. But let's go with Olave, his running mate. I love him. Let's get into the tape on him.
All right. The first note I have is he's the Zach Ertz of wide receivers. He's always going to be open and catch the ball. Then he kind of falls after that, though. There's not a lot of yak.
Yeah. I had so with him, I had a return of the linear strider. So last year with Devonta Smith, that was our term for him. Just that guy who created space, just because, like you see with this clip right here, beating a really good cornerback in Joey Porter Jr., he didn't really have a crazy move. He's just linear strider, beat the cornerback right off the ball. He's got those long legs. He could beat his cornerback and defensive backs with speed. So it was like watching him and then listening to the tape on him. It was a lot like the Devonta Smith breakdown last year. It was just he's just a long, lean running machine who keeps getting himself open. I love this play right here. This little footwork on the sideline. All these Ohio State
not a lot of yak, and it's all yak.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They have the Ohio State offense. All of these wide receivers are so good at creating space that they really don't have to break tackles. Look how open they are on all of these. We're gonna be doing this next year with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, we're just gonna be right back to it.
Nailed the name.
It's like this year. What's that?
You nailed the name.
It's gonna be the only time. We'll wait until we get into some of these names. I will screw it up. So just what we're watching here, just again, these Ohio State wide receivers, great footwork, great route running. That's how they find themselves so open. And I think Olave just uses his speed to kind of just get right past the cornerbacks. It's like doing the Devonta Smith breakdown all over again. Great footwork, good route running, gets himself open. Can he get himself open against NFL cornerbacks because he's lean? He's not that big. He's not that strong. He's not that physical. So it's just one of those things where if you're the Eagles, does that scare you away when you just had this same scenario last year with Devonta Smith?
Out of all the picks that are like realistic for the Eagles, he has to be my favorite one.
I was about to say, this just feels like a realistic pick. This feels like a really realistic 15 or 18, Yeah. So I kind of tiered my notes based on picks at 15 and picks at 18. I have him as one of the guys at 15, but 15 or 18. But just, again, all of these highlights, just look at the space that's created on all of these. And part of that is, and this is another knock on him, and some of these knocks on these guys are hilarious. Like, their knocks are like, oh, there were other good players on their team. So one of the knocks on Olave is he is a complimentary wide receiver. And that's probably, like we talked about, he was playing with Garrett Wilson, so that makes total sense. But who cares? Isn't that exactly what the Eagles are looking for?
Okay. You know who's not a complimentary wide receiver? Jalen Reagor. So I'll take literally anybody.
Yeah, I was about to say. It's like, okay, he's a complimentary receiver. Perfect. So Devonta Smith is your wide receiver 1. Quez falls into the perfect role of wide receiver 3 for him. You've got Goddard. Now you have Olave. If you're the Cowboys, you've got CeeDee Lamb. You need to replace him for Amari Cooper. Olave. I just love how his smooth stride. These Ohio State receivers, they're just so smooth in everything that they do. I love it. So we are on the same page. Is he the most exciting prospect in the entire draft? Probably not. But
that's the reason he excites me the most. He's not the most exciting. That's the reason I'm most excited about it.
I was about to say, I feel like this is just safe and predictable for the Eagles, and I think are you doing a backflip if we get him? No, but are you giving like a thumbs up smile on your face? Hell yeah. I think that's how you feel about him, and he feels like a great compliment to Devonta Smith, who can stretch the defense and uses his speed and his footwork to get himself open. Like, look on that deep shot right there.
By himself.
3 guys around, and he gets right by all 3. That's fantastic work. And, nothing crazy with that route, just a smooth stride right down the field. I'm hoping they show – there's one play, and it wasn't this past season, so I don't know if they're going to show it. He had one of the best toe touches in the back of the end zone I've ever seen of any college wide receiver. And it wasn't this year, it was the year before, so I don't know if we'll actually see it. Best toe touch I've ever seen. He got both feet in. So, again, footwork, route running, speed, things you want to see from a wide receiver. Any stats or anything you've got for him?
I didn't really feel like I needed any of him. He's plus 2,000 to be the first wide receiver off the board, which we're not really worried about. Notes I have, Zach Ertz wide receiver is elite route running and athleticism. Athleticism is my favorite note for prospects because like we're scouting them for professional sports. So they better be athletic.
Yes, I was about to say. So they're athletes.
Yeah. The only knock I guess I have on him is that he's small, so he needs to create separation. But like he does that, and also he's winning a lot of these contested catches. We're seeing this is a highlight reel, so it's going to be all good stuff. But
this is just so funny. We did this. Like go back and watch our Devonta Smith breakdown from last year. We did this.
Yeah. He easily has the highest floor of every wide receiver in the draft.
Correct. I think that's why we like him, right? We've been burnt in the past.
Yeah. So like that, the 2016 NBA draft, he's the Jason Tatum. His floor is easily the highest. All the other wide receivers can end up being Markelle Fultz. You know, like could be flashy, might not work out.
Or Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
Great crossover analogy on that one. All right, I think we've got enough tape here on Olave. He set the record for touchdowns at Ohio State, so that highlight tape could go for quite some time. So, again, 15, 18, I don't know, but it's a really he's an intriguing prospect because I think he's going to be one that they're interested in. He did do a top 30 visit with the Eagles and would be a good compliment to Devonta Smith. Speaking of Devonta Smith, what if the Eagles just went back to the well at Alabama wide receivers? Let's take a look at Jameson Williams. Now, Olave might be the safe, reliable, high floor guy. He's like getting, what's a great car that, it goes fast. It'd be like getting a Tesla these days. I feel like everyone in my work who works in my building has a Tesla. Like it goes fast. It gets the job done. It's efficient. Jameson Williams is the Lamborghini. Jameson Williams is the Ferrari. This is the electric, whoa, I can't believe human beings are that fast guy.
Yeah, this is the guy the Eagles need, like the speed guy. This guy the guy they swung on 9 times last year, and maybe got one in Quez Watkins, but also not really. Yeah,
I believe that Daniel Jeremiah described Quez Watkins as a speedboat in a river full of canoes. That would apply to Jameson Williams pretty well. So he's got next level speed. We've brought this up on the podcast multiple times when referring to some of the wide receivers in the NFL right now, turning 6-yard games into 60-yard gains on one single play. That's kind of what you get out of Jameson Williams. You're seeing some deep shots early in these on the film. You'll see that a lot. He can beat the corners and get over the top with his speed. But a lot of these, he just takes it. Like this one right here is the perfect example across the middle of the field, and all of a sudden he's past the entire Georgia defense. Not a deep shot, but he turned that in from a 15-yard gain into a touchdown. But he's got great feet, great movement. You see it here, these strides again, getting past touchdown. And all of a sudden, you're at the 40-yard line. You're like, all right, just push him out of bounds, and then it turns into a touchdown. He's a return specialist as well. Don't know if you'd utilize that for him in the NFL, depending on how you feel about him and his value. But he had a few games where he had multiple returns for touchdowns. He's just like got that Tyreek Hill breakaway speed, and he just kind of slid perfectly into that role at Alabama that they had for Jalen Waddle, where it was like, all right, we've got other guys. Your job is to just beat everybody. Just blow past people with your speed, and that's exactly what he did. Anything you've got on him? Because I've got a few points with him that are just kind of his projection in the NFL. Bryce Young.
No receiver in this class has more yards or touchdowns on throws 30-plus yards down the field. So he's 544 yards. This was in 2021, just in 2021. 544 yards and 7 touchdowns on throws 30 yards down the field. Also says a lot about Bryce Young, but
yes. Yeah, keep some of these highlights in your brain if you're watching on YouTube of Bryce Young throwing these deep shots to Jameson Williams, because we will be back watching this film again next year for somebody different.
Yeah, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that aren't even throwing the ball 30 yards down the field.
Mm-hmm. And not to name names, we're giving everybody a fair shot. This is
And
another guy.
That doesn't mean plays that went for 30 yards. That means the ball was in the air for 30 yards.
For 30 yards. Yes. Yeah. And a beautiful ball at that.
Like that.
I just love this tape for him and Olave so far, because there's so many shots where you're like, wait, did a corner ever come close to this person on these routes? Like on that touchdown right there. He was untouched. Like, he just blows by these guys so fast, and you're at the highest level of football. Like, look at this. He beats 3 guys. 1 gets a hold on him. It's so funny to watch. Just beating these defenses right over the top. Nothing fancy with the route running. Just flat out being faster than the opponent.
Any cornerback's gonna need help with him, which means 1 or 2 other guys are open.
Exactly. The more, the better. And that's a great route right there. A little out route for the touchdown. You love to see that, because I think what scares people sometimes is when you only see the deep shots on highlight tapes like this. But I know he does more than that. It's just that he really excels at that. So, again, he's been listed as like another complimentary wide receiver. You can bring us in. I just have a few last points. You get the complimentary wide receiver thing. But again, isn't that kind of what you're looking for if you're the Eagles, and even if you're the Cowboys? Like, isn't that the whole point? You think Devonta Smith wide receiver 1, so you get a speedster on the opposite side? So I don't know if either of these guys will. I know Olave doesn't really play in the slot. Jamison Williams maybe, but I think John Mechie really played in the slot too. I have a thing. I'll let you give the stats on him being the first wide receiver. I know you can bet sometimes on where a guy will go. I absolutely think he doesn't get by the Ravens at 14, which is unfortunate.
That's what I'm terrified. Like, almost no one's mocking receivers to the Ravens, which upsets me because they're picking right before the Eagles. So if 2 go to like the Jets and the Falcons, and the Ravens take the 3rd one off the board, I mean, it's a deep class. We're going to talk about some other guys, but the Ravens upset me. Like, you could have someone right there, and if they don't take Derek Stingley or one of the corners, then it's like just a little extra heartbreak.
I think we'll be gone by then. I could see him being a Raven, but I think he'll be gone. If you're the Ravens, why would you not want to pair him with Lamar Jackson and just be the fastest team alive with him and Hollywood Brown? I just don't. I think the Eagles, it's good to say this now, I think they trade up from 15 and then trade down from 18 to recoup whatever they needed to trade up from 15. That is the beauty of having 2 picks. You can go one way or the other. And I really think you'd have to trade up, similar to Devontae last year, where you were at 12, you jumped up to 10, and you gave up a 3rd-round pick in the process to do so. I think you'd probably have to skip over the Ravens at 14 and get to 12 or 13 so that you could get this kid if you wanted him. I just don't think he's making it past the Ravens.
Yeah, if they're in love with someone, I can see them trading up from 15. If not, like, the best player available at 15 is still very good.
Yes, correct, because there's a lot of names here and a lot of positions that you need. I'll say this before we go on to the next receiver. While we're on the topic of Alabama, we did not do a prospect breakdown video for John Mechie. If he's there at 51, yeah, you can count me in, even with the ACL injury. I don't know if he will be, but he'd be a first-round pick if it weren't for the injury, and I love his tape too, and I love Alabama wide receivers.
The odds on Jameson Williams, he's plus 175 to be the first wide receiver. Without the ACL, I think it would have been minus 15,000 to be the first wide receiver off the board.
Correct.
If you're betting first wide receiver, take Garrett Wilson all day, because no GM is losing his job over the difference between Garrett Wilson and Jameson Williams, because it's marginal, if anything. So no GM is going to take the chance on losing their job over this dude's ACL not healing correctly. Mm-hmm. Not that I think it's an issue, but again, no one wants to lose their job. So plus 75 the first wide receiver, his over under is 12.5. I think the under is a pretty safe bet.
You think so?
You think he goes before 12?
I think he goes after 12, over 12 now. I think he goes to 14 of the Ravens is the issue. It's gonna right in front of me.
The Jets and the Falcons both need somebody. Jets picked twice.
I just think the Falcons just like they need so much that one of these wide receivers will not make the difference. And to go skill position again after going tight end at 4 last year, I just don't know. I get why they would need a receiver, but you need so much.
Even if the Eagles have to trade up for him, they say they can't get 13, have to go to 12. That's still under.
There you go. That's on the table for sure. So that'll be interesting because it's a shame that the Raiders got Devonta Adams because they always like to reach on receivers. And I would have loved to see them trade up for one of these guys and just, cause chaos like they usually do. So that is a name to watch. It's a name we'll see if he's there at 15. I think he's trade up bait 101 right there. So Jamison Williams, pretty exciting as well. To the next guy that has a lot of people excited. We'll stay in the SEC. Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. Vince loves this kid. A lot of people love this kid. He seems to be like a not boom or bust, but if you like this kid, you love this kid. So I'm glad they started right off the bat with this video here. So this is the video that has everybody talking. He catches the deep ball, beats the corner right off the line, catches the deep ball. But this is where everyone loves it. Breakaway, next level speed, gets right by the entire Alabama secondary. You can see 5 guys chasing him, which I think is what everyone's seeing is like he hits that next level speed-wise. And you and I, and we just brought it up with Jamison Williams, who's going to take a 6-yard play and turn it into a 60-yard play? That's kind of what we're seeing with Treylon Burks here is once he gets the ball in his hands, it gets scary in a hurry for the defenses.
He's my 1B after Chris Olave.
Yeah, I
really like him.
You love
I really do.
Yeah.
I also think Jameson Williams isn't going to be there unless they trade up and get him. So if they stay at 15, he's my 1B. I think both of these guys, he's definitely the more flashy prospect. Probably the best wide receiver or a fantasy wide receiver in this draft. So if you're in like dynasty leagues, I would go ahead and nab this guy right now.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like it depends on what system he gets into. But if you get a system that utilizes him the way he should be, Arkansas utilized him so well because they put him all over the field. As you're watching this highlight tape, you're seeing a little bit difference between his tape and the tape between Olave and Jameson Williams, where a lot of that were deep shots. They were just beating the defense. There's some creativity to this Arkansas offense and how they got Treylon Burks the ball. Here's another clip that has everybody excited. So you saw on that one, he just flat out bounced off the tackle and kept running. So here's another one. And again, you see him kind of playing on the inside, a little deep slant action right here. Get him the ball in the middle of the field. This is a little shakeup from what we've seen with the previous 2 wide receivers that we looked at in Olave and Jamison Williams. I just love the way Arkansas plays offense. If they could just kind of get a quarterback in there with a better, like if you put CJ Stroud in this offense, oh my God, they would be fantastic. It'd be awesome to watch. So you can see here, they kind of use him out of the backfield a little bit. They've got that like Deebo comparison for him. I think that he's not a cheaper Deebo. He's a poor man's Deebo. Like, it's not the same. There's one Deebo. There's only one Deebo Samuel in the entire league. But I can see the appeal of that versatility of a wide receiver like this. So, Vince, anything on your guy? I'll let you kind of take this one because this is your guy.
I have bigger, cheaper Deebo. I think bigger and cheaper are more important than him being similar to Deebo. It's because there's no really comparison. I also think, that too. I also think we could see Deebo be traded on draft night almost immediately after Treylon Burks is drafted.
That would be a shakeup.
Yeah. So he was first in yards per route run, third in yards per team pass attempt, fourth in share of team receptions, third in share of yardage, and first in receiving touchdowns in the class in 2021.
Not bad. Not bad
at all.
No.
He's the perfect balance of safe and flashy for me.
I think another thing too, We talked about that Arkansas offense. It's creative, but name another name on that Arkansas offense. You really can't. I watched them a few times. I know their names, but I don't mean that they're NFL draft prospects. The thing about Alabama and these Ohio State kids, again, this will be a knock, and we're going to get into Georgia defense in a second. There's so much good talent that you can't focus on one guy. At Arkansas, they were focused on Treylon Burks, and he was given those stats that you just gave.
I'm trying to find this profile graphic I made for him because I had a few extra stats on there.
Well, you do that. I'm going to keep looking at this tape. Now they've got him into the blocking schemes here. I think I could see him really being one of the guys that one of these teams reach on. Like if they're in love with him and they know that he is not going to be there. Like I know Cowboys fans would be excited about him at 24. I could see somebody pulling the trigger on this kid in the top 20. We talked about it a little bit, but there could be that run on wide receivers early. Garrett Wilson, Jameson Williams, they're off the board. All right, now you're starting to panic. The guys are going. Then all of a sudden somebody's like, all right, we got Treylon Burks. We got to move up or we got to take him in the top 20.
Yeah, so I have he's basically like Deebo, running back with the ball in his hands, which basically just means he's a fast guy, which, again, Eagles need. I've seen him mocked to the Cowboys and the Packers, which would both be great fits for him, I think.
Yes, fantasy-wise, again, would be great.
Yeah. That's why if you're in a dynasty league that does, like, pre-draft fantasy draft, I would go ahead and grab him very early.
Yeah, because I think he's going to fall to one of these teams. And, like, again, it wouldn't shock me if he goes top 20. But if he's in those 20 range, then all of a sudden he's going to be with some pretty good team and hopefully has like an immediate rookie impact. You know?
I mean, even the Chiefs are a team that need a wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly.
And a fast one.
Chiefs, Packers, all those teams that you mentioned, all of a sudden, you know, Garrett Wilson goes to the Jets at 10 and you're playing with Zach Wilson. Then I look up at the end of the year and you're like, oh, Treylon Burks had a better statistical season. Well, yeah, because he's playing with Mahomes or the Rodgers. So, and again, right there, that's a great clip that they just showed. So, little swing pass to him out of the backfield, turns it into a 10-yard gain, kind of runs through that tackle a little bit. Again, in the backfield, they hand it off to him, and then he's able to break it. Oh, a little pass action. That looks exactly like that Deebo play. I don't think we want to watch the concerns. We do all positive here. We talk ourselves into every prospect.
Yeah, this part of the video doesn't exist. Was that throw part of the concerns?
No, it was right before. It was like, okay, here's how we can utilize him. So I get the Deebo comp with stuff like that.
I think it's just an interesting timing on the Deebo comp at a time where a lot of teams are like thinking about Deebo. And they're like, well,
yeah,
it's like that classic, like we got Deebo at home. Like we'll go get the cheaper one.
Yeah, correct. And it's the time where people have realized, oh, we don't have to isolate guys to one position. Like you could be like Cordarrelle Patterson or Deebo Samuel and line up in the backfield or split them out wide. Wow. Who knew we could do that the entire time? So he's like just coming into the league at the right time.
Yeah. I feel like people forget though that like that position also is just wide receiver. Like you have to be a good wide receiver to play that position. It's just like the teams that need that wide back are using it. You can still just get him as a wide receiver. Yeah.
They're blending. Wide back is just a pass catcher out of the backfield who can do a little bit of both. They're starting to blend. We're getting closer to closer. Either you're on the line or you're an athlete. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
And that's Treylon Burks. So someone's going to be like, this kid is the next wave. And that's going to be it. And he's going to go top 20. Anything left on your guy? You hope the Eagles pull the trigger? Your Eagles pull the trigger?
Yeah, he's my favorite. Chris Olave is still my favorite pick. He's my favorite. Like, I'd be most excited about him.
Most excited, yeah, exactly. Like, I think that is the best assessment of the wide receivers. All right. Speaking of wide receivers, I think those are the three that we have targeted. We talked about Garrett Wilson and John Mechie as well, even though we didn't do those. So let's move on to another position group. Let's flip the other side of the ball. Let's do a little secondary first before we get to the defensive line. Let's start here Lewis Cine, safety, Georgia. I think this is another kid like Treylon Burks. There's a team, they're not saying it, but they love him. According to Sharp Analysis, he's the 30th overall pick, or 30th best player in the draft. There's another kid. If he sneaks in around 20, don't be surprised. We're about to hit play on the tape. You're going to find out right away why people are going to fall in love. I have written down first, violent, attitude, explosive. Really good buzzwords. There are really good buzzwords about him. So right away, look what you're seeing. A safety coming down, making tackles, meeting the running backs. He's athletic. Again, explosive, able to cover ground on the back end. That's what has people excited. This kid plays ferociously. Again, look who's coming up, making the tackle on a ball carrier. It's your safety. Look at him. Does the guy get by him? No. He puts his foot in the ground and drives him back. This kid, oh, look at this against Arkansas. Meet at the line of scrimmage, meet hat on hat. You're not getting by me. You're going backwards once I touch you. And this is a safety. This kid plays with some violence that Philadelphia would fall in love with right away. Considering
who's he remind you of?
I didn't want to say Brian Dawkins.
I didn't say
there is
anything.
a certain level of violence. What's that?
I didn't say Brian Dawkins either. I just asked who you reminded you of.
I'm just saying, yeah, there's a certain level of violence that I remember from my childhood. Look at that. Behind the line of scrimmage. Meet the ball carrier. Does he get by him? No. This kid, I'm saying, I don't know if he goes to the Eagles, but I could see this fan base falling in love with this kid. Great tackler, explosive, violent. He's just long and lean. He's got size, and then he just goes downhill and attacks. So I think the one thing that people knock on him here, and again, I don't care. I love his tape. I love the attitude on the tape. He's not really shifty. Again, it's downhill, straight line speed. A lot of these, look, straight downhill, meeting the ball carrier. I was about to say, I don't care.
It's another one of these nitpicks. It's like my weaknesses are also strengths. He's very fast at running towards the ball carrier. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's like, all right. But, I mean, I get it. Like, if you need him to cover somebody who's shifty, can he do that? You don't know. But at the same time, maybe you overlook that considering, I don't know. On all of this tape, he's meeting an athletic running back in the hole and blowing them up. I think he'll be fine. Do you want
to feel better about that? I have numbers that'll make me feel better about that.
What number?
So he's probably the truest deep safety in the draft.
That's what I got.
If your team is looking for a safety, this is your guy.
Yes.
Kyle Hamilton will go possibly top 10. I've seen him slip a little bit further than that, but if you're not picking the top 10, you're probably not getting Kyle Hamilton. This guy is not going to be a problem for you to draft. I think if the Eagles want to pick him at 18, I'm not mad.
No.
It might be a little bit of a reach, but it's the kind of reach that I'm not upset about.
And it's, again, if you're sitting there at 18 for the Eagles, you can trade down. And
That's
then, I was going to say, then you're in the 20s, you're at 21, you're at 22, whatever that may be. And all of a sudden, for who Sharp Analysis has as the 30 best overall best player in the draft, that makes sense. Starts to make sense. I agree with what you said. True deep safety, where he does the traditional safety role. He is going to cover ground on the back end, and when you needed to come up and make a play and hit somebody, he will. Is he one of these safeties who can come up and have that versatility and kind of, cover guys in the slot and stuff like that? I don't know. Probably not. Again, straight downhill speed, not side to side like shifty speed. But again, I don't think that's going to bother many people. Like if this guy ends up on your team, I think you're going to be excited with the highlights that will be produced.
So when lined up at deep safety, this is from Sharp Analysis, Dan Pizzuta. He did a whole article on the safeties in this draft. So when he's lined up at deep safety, allowed just 6 completions on 14 targets for 60 yards with 7 passes defensed. So
and you can tell by this highlight tape right now, he's covering some ground back there.
Fast, very fast.
Yes,
I don't
fast,
think
very fast. He's just cool, and I just listen.
That's the other thing. What's the 2 rules? You and I each have a rule. Yeah.
Yep. Best player available off the best teams. Cool. He checks both my boxes. He's on the Georgia defense, historically great, and he's cool. Yeah, sign me up. That's fine.
He checks both boxes. It's like the Broncos. It's like the Broncos going after a quarterback before Russell Wilson.
Correct. Yes.
There's 2 rules.
I have one thing on this kid and the violence that he plays with and the attitude change that he is. I'm at a point right now with Philadelphia sports where I am questioning, on paper, the rosters look talented, and I am questioning what is between the ears with a lot of these teams when they go on the field and don't have success. They don't have a dog like Lewis Cine. He is the meme when they're on the bus and the guy looking at the mountain who is sad is like the analytical guy, and the guy looking at the sun and the view is like he's got that dog in him. Lewis Cine is the he's got that dog in him meme guy. That's him.
Yeah, I'm so tired with these Philly sports teams of there just being like no personality. I need someone that can, like Kyle Schwarber tried to do it in the 9th inning the other night.
Yeah.
Like almost ripping Angel Hernandez's head off. Like every team needs a guy that'll do that every game.
Yeah, you need that guy who's going to be like, wake up. I will lead by example, but wake up. And that is this guy. So, again, I think you and I are on the same page. Kid's a dog. We'd love him at 18. I'd love him more if you could trade down from 18 and get him. It's going to be weird. Like it's one of those guys where you could go at 18, he could go at 30, and it wouldn't shock anybody. And there's so many people in this draft that you could say about that. You could go at 15 to the Eagles, or you could go at 30. And it's not going to surprise anybody. That's going to be Lewis Cine, so we'll see with him.
That being said, if Kyle Hamilton slips, get him.
Oh, yeah. That's He's another guy where you're like, we're not going to do the breakdown because we don't think we have a chance.
Yeah.
But also, I love this constellation flies if we get Lewis. So let's stay in the secondary. Let's get to this one kid. I think this kid is going to be the Charlie Kelly wild card, baby. Daxton Hill out of Michigan. This kid is something. So I'll fully admit I was a late bloomer before we hit on the tape, or I let it run. Who cares? Let's just show it off right away. I love this kid's tape. I was a late bloomer on him. Didn't know much about him. Heard Mel Kiper and Todd McShay talking about him. McShay had him listed as his 15th best prospect. So that piqued my interest, seeing as my team is at 15. And I was like, all right, they're so high on this kid. I listened to Greg Cosell, who's another great film breakdown guy. He does a great job with these prospects. He said he was one of the most favorite players to watch on film out of everybody in the draft. Said he was one of the best film breakdown guys in the entire draft. Now, as we go through this film, what are you seeing? He is in so many different positions on all of these films. Like, it's just the way he's able to cover multiple positions, line up in multiple positions. This is some great tape because you're going to see a little bit of everything on here. There's a few blitzes that you're about to see right here. I think this is the one. He gets the sack, the play before you saw him in coverage. This kid is awesome. He plays everywhere. Positional versatility. He's a safety who can also play slot corner. He has the arm length of a tackle who can play safety and also slot corner with elite speed and athleticism. So he's covering a lot of ground no matter where he is. The first 4 plays on this, he played in 4 different positions.
He lined up in the slot 72% of the time.
And they project him to be a safety. That's really says something about him. But and you'll see, like on the tape, why they have him up around the line of scrimmage. He's an impact player who, like, he's totally fine. Right there, they bring him on the blitz. They just bring him on the blitz, and he makes an impact play. That's why you want him around the line of scrimmage.
He also has the second highest blitz percentage.
Yeah, perfect.
Lining up blitz.
Yeah. So you're getting a guy who you can drop back in coverage and cover a lot of ground, or bring him on the blitz. Whatever you need, a little bit of everything. I really loved watching his tape and watching all the different things that he can do as we watch a tackle for loss in the backfield. It's just like you could split his tape into two. A blitz right there where he makes an impact right off the corner. For the Eagles, it's interesting because they have Avonte Maddox as a slot corner and he's not going anywhere. But with this kid, I really don't know. I think you can line him up and find a role for him, and just he's one of those kids. Just put him on the field, and it'll work out. It doesn't really matter where you line him up. Obviously, safety is a position of need, but if you play him a little bit of slot corner, bring him off the corner blitzes and stuff like that, I really think he'd be great for Jonathan Gannon in this system to, get some pressure that's not the front four.
Yeah, this is the kind of guy where I would be upset if they took him at 18. I think trading back for him would be a great move. I think 18 would be a reach. There's definitely someone better at 18. Mm-hmm. That being said, my first note is extreme versatility, can play all over the defense. I'm not mad about that anytime. No. So being very good at multiple things is not a bad thing. So he is able to get his hands on the ball at the second highest rate behind only Kyle Hamilton.
Exactly. And this kid has excellent ball skills. And again, arm length of a tackle. Which is like when you need arm length is the tackle position. And you're getting that out of a safety slot corner hybrid. These hybrid athletes are the future of the game. And who do we know who loves positional versatility the most? It's the Eagles. They love it. So I really think this kid is one to keep an eye on. Him and Lewis Cine at that 18th pick. Some fans are going to be like, who? Yeah, it's not Jameson Williams. And then you're going to watch the tape and you're going to say to yourself, oh, that's who. Oh, all right. I see the vision.
So he's in the 92nd percentile in wingspan, 95th 40 time, 97th 10-yard split, 97th 3-cone drill.
Oh, give me all of that. Give me all of that. Just give me a playmaker with those attributes on the defense, and the rest will figure itself out. You know what those attributes turn into? Turnovers.
Which I feel like, did the Eagles get a single turnover last year? The number may have been 0.
It was astronomically low.
Yeah.
Darius Slay was at a few plays, in a few interceptions.
It was him by himself.
I was about to say, remember how easy it was? It was pitch and catch, and all those quarterbacks had over 70% completion percentage. Daxton Hill, no matter where he lines up, is going to make a quarterback uncomfortable. Whether it's on the blitz, whether it's covering ground and creating a double team on a good wide receiver. You thought you had the pass. Oh, no, I didn't quite, because this Daxton Hill character with his arm length of a tackle went over and made the play and covered enough ground, and he's got speed to match. Oh, all of a sudden that gap closed in a hurry. That's an interception. That's this kid. I like him a lot.
The line for safeties taken in the first round is 1.5, and Daxton Hill is the reason I might just put everything I own on the over.
Both
because, well, so Lewis Cine, I think, is a very good chance he's taken, and I think there's a very good chance Daxton Hill is almost taken, which means there's a very good chance at least one of them is taken.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's kind of like if some team's like in love with him and reaches a little bit on him in the first round, you only need 2 safeties to hit over 1.5. I'm no mathematician, but
yeah,
feels very easy.
I like the odds. I like it a lot. And
it's
while we're on the
300, I think, for over 1.5, but
I can
still
see why. Yeah, because we've got these 2 options right here that should do it. While we're on the topic of safeties, we didn't do a video on Jaquan Brisker. Everybody knows I love him. I will take him on this team 100%. I don't know if you pull the trigger at 15 or 18. Probably not. And you just hope he's at 51. If not, you do a trade down in the first and at pick 15 or 18. Try to get another pick so you can trade up in the second round to get that kid. He's more traditional where he does everything well as a safety. He probably just doesn't have that explosive athleticism that you're seeing out of Daxton Hill. But I love Brisker. He checks every single box that you want from a safety.
Now that you're saying that, I take a receiver at 15, trade back from 18, go one of these guys that we want to talk about in a minute later in the first round, and then Jaquan Brisker at 50 or wherever you move up to in the second. I think that's
If you get into the 40s, and I'm nervous that he's going like day 2. You're like, oh yeah, the draft just started. Oh shit, Brisker's gone. Like, you know, he's always that guy. You're like, oh, I hope he drops. I hope he drops. I hope he drops. And with the 34th pick, Jaquan Brisker, and you're like, damn, that was no time at all, and he's already off the board.
Well, that's why you want Daxton Hill and Lewis Cine to go as early as possible. There's teams that need safety out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
There's a lot of teams in like the high 30s, low 40s. I think that also don't have a first round pick. So if I remember right from doing all the team needs, I don't think safety was high on a lot. It's definitely on a lot of teams' needs, but I don't think it was number one on a lot of teams' needs.
Yeah, and it's not. That's the whole Kyle Hamilton debate. Is it's not the position of need or position of value, because there's so many more positions that mean more: tackle, quarterback, defensive end, and a strong edge rusher class. So that's the same thing applies here with Brisker. Is maybe some teams don't pull the trigger, or even on these two guys, Daxton Hill and Lewis Cine, because you're saying that there's other guys that we need. So we'll see with them. Let's go down to the defensive line and talk about the big dogs in the trenches. Let's start off
Jordan Davis.
I was about to say, let's start with Jordan Davis, the biggest dog in the entire draft. This kid's tape is so funny. It is hilarious. This kid is just a human crater. Every single highlight that you're about to watch, he's just strength, blow up the defensive line, shed tackler, tackle. It's
my first note, not many humans with his size and athleticism.
Nope. So he shed 40 pounds at the combine, which people like. So it got him, at a better playing weight. But at the same time, look at him hawk down a quarterback.
That's at what, like 290?
Oh, no. He was over 300.
Jesus Christ.
And it's just every clip is the same. Right there in the trenches, they try a double team. No, he's just too strong. Blows right by. Tackle for loss. That's again and again and again. Here he is in the middle against Kentucky. All shed the guard. Tackle 2nd and 10. Every single clip. It's the funniest highlight tape you will watch. He's just a behemoth, a gigantic human bowling ball in the middle who just runs over pins. That's it.
My favorite thing about him is his draft prop is 14.5, and guess who's right there?
The Eagles at 15.
Yeah,
look at this. Right by. Try to get him the center. Nope. 2nd and 14. Every single time. It is the funniest tape you will watch, where it's just again and again and again. You watch the same play. Just all right. Line at the line of scrimmage. Nope. Nothing doing. There's Jordan Davis.
So his thing is obviously the pass rush, or not the rush defense, but he has everything that he needs to develop into a legit pass rusher. And you know who has a lot of good pass rushers on the team that could teach him how to do that better? The Eagles. Yeah.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room with him. I know we weren't going to do knocks, but we'll see. Is it a knock? This is the whole thing with him. So he was only on the field for 20% of Georgia's third downs. He was only on for 7% of their 3rd and longs. He was not a 3-down player. His snap count was not high. But is that because of who he is as a player, or is that because of the scheme? And that's what these coaches and GMs need to find out. Georgia, if you're a college football fan, you know how their season went. The starters weren't really playing a lot of fourth quarters. And they were usually up by so much that teams were pass every single down. And they were just, they just pinned their ears back and going, which you didn't really need Jordan Davis for. So, could he be a 3rd down guy? Or is it because of physical traits? Or is it because Georgia was so freaking good that they didn't even need to utilize his talents? That's the issue.
I have a take on that.
Okay.
Well, first, he was on the field for 16% of Georgia's third down plays and 7% of third long. But we just talked about
I
it.
guess I'm going to give him a little credit. Man.
He's a rush defense guy. People are throwing it against Georgia on third down. He doesn't need to be in there.
Yeah. But I guess that's what people think. So the league is going more to pass. Will he still be effective? But again, to me, this is a Georgia problem. Like, they're just so good that they could rotate through. They were constantly up 35-0 at halftime. Was it himself, or was it the team? And
yeah, I don't buy the whole conditioning shtick on this. I don't think it has anything to do with his conditioning.
Not after his combine. Not after what you saw at his combine, where he was one of the best freak athletes and also lost 40 pounds there. So I guess, you have to ask yourself, is he a 3-down lineman right now? No, probably not. But would you want him on the field on first and second? Probably. So it's like, all right, is he? Do you see him as that human wrecking ball, or do you see him as the one-trick pony? Maybe he's both, and maybe it doesn't matter.
I think the Eagles took a rugby player and turned him into a pro offensive lineman. They can take an elite, large human athlete and turn him into a very good defensive lineman.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. Yep. So, you know how I feel. Best players on best teams. You're not going to hear a complaint out of me if we get a human tank in the middle. I know I was using car analogies before. This would be a Hummer. Yeah. And in the SC, he was in the SC freaking C, and it looked like a Hummer running over a Fiat. That's what he looked like on the defensive line. So
in terms of projects, this is a pretty good one you could pick up.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he's a project, because everything he does well. They just don't, he just doesn't do everything. So, like, when I think project, I think raw. They're like, oh, all right, here's this mass. Like, Jordan Mailata is perfect. He was a project because he had never played football before, and they needed to teach him technique. Jordan Davis has technique. He's got big, strong hands. He's able to shed people. He's so strong that he kind of just can blow things up and push people back. So, like, the technique is there. It's just like, can you utilize him different ways? And that, I don't know. And, like, even if you can't utilize him different ways, does it matter? So this is one of the more intriguing prospects in the draft, because, again, and we keep saying this a lot, this is a guy who could go top 10. He could go 15 in the Eagles. He could fall because of the weight concerns and the conditioning concerns and the lack of snap count in games. And it could be at 23. He could be at 10, 15, 23, and we'd have no clue.
Yeah, with that trade back scenario we just talked about. I think if he's there, obviously take him. And the next guy we're going to talk about, I think, is a very realistic opportunity.
Yeah, let's switch over to his running mate over on the defensive line, Devonta Wyatt, another really good defensive tackle. So I'll be honest, he doesn't excite me as much, but I actually have talked myself into him with one of the takes that I came up with. Also, again, he plays for Georgia. So real quick, before you hit play on his tape, I was listening to the Greg Cosell breakdowns. He said he had to watch the Georgia defense 8 different times and watch all of their games all the way through, because you can only focus on so many people. And they have so many prospects that he had to watch all of their games through 8 different times to be able to break down everybody enough to do a full analysis, which is perfect to bring up now, because we're going to shift over from this behemoth to this other first-round defensive tackle on their defensive line. Imagine playing these guys in college. Well, let's run the tape. It's insane to watch.
It's like playing that one AAU team that's obviously just a pipeline to like elite, like high schools and colleges, and you're just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's like IMG Academy playing these other schools, and you're like, wait a second, this isn't fair. Why does everyone on the team have a scholarship offer already? That's what the Georgia defense was. It was just like IMG Academy playing Bishop Sycamore 12 different times this year. All right, so Devonta Wyatt, you're going to see some similar stuff that you saw from Jordan Davis, but I think they play in a different way. Obviously, he's not as big as Jordan Davis because no one on earth is. But he's more of a traditional defensive tackle. His comp was Javon Hargrave, so you can see the appeal if you're an Eagles fan. Was that Joe Burrow he just sacked right there? That's good for the trophy room. But again, look at this: shed, overpower, sack. But he's in on passing plays again. He's not that one trick pony, quote unquote, that Jordan Davis is, who's that human wrecking ball and has that one good thing. I think he does everything good, not great. Does that matter? Probably not.
Probably not. Again, it's more of the Georgia thing than it is a him thing.
Yes.
So like he wasn't in. He was regularly pulled off the field on passing downs, but it's because he was not needed. His skill set is he's the best run defender in the draft. So his skill set is run defense, and he's a note that I found was he's an asset on early downs. So like
yeah,
again, it's more of a Georgia thing than a him thing.
Exactly. So everyone played their role so well that it ended up hurting them in the draft process. So like him and Jordan Davis would force these teams in the 3rd and 14. They'd bring different guys in, and then people would say, well, why aren't Jordan Davis and Devonta Wyatt on the field? Well, it's because they shed the offensive lineman and killed the running back 2 plays ago. Now you're in 2nd and 12 behind the sticks. And that's what you see on all these plays. Circle them right in the middle there, and then boom, right through, little athletic move. That's what you like to see because that seems to be the concern with both him and Davis. Do they have that athleticism to move and be a pass rusher? So I think he has the ability to be a 3-down lineman. Again, he's not as big as Davis. He's got that more traditional defensive tackle build. Is he the next Aaron Donald? I don't think so. Is he a starting caliber defensive tackle in the NFL? Yeah.
Yeah, so
right?
He's the Chris Olave to Jordan Davis's Jameson Williams.
Correct. That's a great way to put it. Where you're like, ooh, look at this intriguing electric guy, one of a kind. But, this is more of a traditional guy. So he's another one.
The cornerstone. He's probably not going to be the cornerstone of your franchise, but he's going to be that guy that's on your line for 5 to 8, 6 years, whatever, and you're never gonna be upset about him.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's an automatic. We're picking up the 5th-year option guy.
Yeah. Something else you made me think of when you're talking about Jordan Davis. Can you imagine Jordan Davis on Jordan Mailata in practice?
I know. Oh my god. Be like the 2 giants fighting.
That's so much person.
I know. Oh my goodness.
I saw the Eagles O-line in a bar one time this year, and Jordan Mailata wasn't with him. And the only thing I thought when I was looking at this group of people was that none of these guys are the biggest guy. Like they were all mountains.
Yeah,
and none of them were the biggest guy.
Yeah, that's such a great way of looking at it. It really is. One last thing on Devonta Wyatt. So I said he's good at everything and great, not really at anything. Good at everything, great at nothing. Not like a knock. He's just solid. That's how I felt about Derek Barnett coming out on the defensive line. I know you're shaking your head, but here's the thing. What if we get a defensive lineman that didn't have shitty, dumb penalties once or twice a game? That would work.
Other than being a moron, I wasn't upset with Derek Barnett. The biggest knock on him is that he's an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you just looked at Derek Barnett's stats, if you took a stat sheet and just looked at his first 5 years in the league and didn't have any context about who he was or what happened, you'd say, yeah, this is a solid career. Now, obviously, they play 2 different positions, defensive end versus defensive tackle. But that is how you felt about the Derek Barnett coming out there. Like he doesn't really have a go-to move. He's not really like the most explosive. He's not the most powerful, but he is explosive, powerful, and fast. Like he's good at all those things, but he doesn't excel at anything in particular. So yeah, maybe make that without the penalties.
So the Chiefs are kind of, speaking of players being dumb. So he has a domestic on him. He got in a little bit of trouble. Doesn't mean any. I don't know if it says anything about his on-field play, but the Chiefs took a meeting with him, and they're pretty famous for not having those meetings tip their hand on what they're going to do. But people seem to think that the Chiefs meeting with him mean that they are very interested. And I don't know, if the Chiefs want a guy, I want that guy.
Don't I say that all the time? There's certain teams where if they want the guy, I want the guy. If the Ravens want the guy, I want the guy. If the Chiefs want the guy, give me the guy. That's what I do.
Yeah, whoever the Ravens are looking at 14 will just trade up to 13 and take that guy.
Yeah,
first.
yes, thank you. Just get the intel on who the Ravens are taking in 14 and trade up to 13 and make it freaking happen. I agree. 1,000%.
Last thing on Devonta Wyatt, his draft prop is 29.5, which is right around where the Chiefs are. So I think they're very interested in this guy, which, again, go trade down to whatever right before the Chiefs and pick him.
Mm-hmm. Get yourself to 23, 24, have a little cushion and get a pick in the process. You can move up and get Jaquan Brisker, and we all go home happy.
Yep.
All right. Let's move over. Let's do edge rusher. This is a great edge rusher class. So let's look at that for a little bit here. There's one guy in particular that I highlighted. We've been talking about trade downs, and I think this is a really good trade down target. Another target for the Cowboys at 24 as well. So, oh, please, God, let me say this right. Arnold Ebiketie. Did I do it? Play the sound.
You got it.
Did I get it?
I promise you got it.
Oh, thank God. You don't know. You guys do not know how many times I practiced this. What's hilarious is I went to Temple. He played at Temple. I watched him for 2 years before he was even at Penn State and was this big-time prospect. And I still can't say his name right. Thank God I said it there.
You can't say anyone's name right, though, so it's okay.
That's true. I can barely get my name right. I picked him out. I think Jermaine Johnson from Florida State is shooting up draft boards, had a phenomenal Senior Bowl. Don't think he'll be there at 15 or 18 for the Eagles at this point. I keep seeing him mocked all the way in the top 10. So I thought, instead of focusing on him, let's take a look at Ebiketie. Did I do it right?
You did.
Thank God. Let's take a look at him because he's a reasonable prospect, and I think he's a good trade down guy for the Eagles, and I think he could be there at 24 for the Cowboys. Could you do me a favor? Could you run the tape back from the beginning? I want to see if you see the same thing that I do on all of these plays. There's one particular thing. All right. He gets a sack there, forces the fumble against Michigan. That's a great play right there. Crowd's going wild. If only Sean Clifford had an arm and they could have scored on that possession. All right. Here we go against Iowa, coming around the corner, sack. And I'll give you a hint. It's not that every single one of these plays is a sack, even though they are.
No, it's like he's mauling the lineman he's up against.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he is. All right. Let's keep it going. I'll just commentate on all of these, and I'll give what all of these plays have in common. So he comes around the corner. You got the big, slow guys from Wisconsin. No match for his speed for Arnold. He's right around bend. He has that great bend. He's that great fast bend right around the tackle that some GM is going to fall in love with. He can just curve right around. They do a great job with that. All right, against Indiana, that tackle stood no chance. I mean, he didn't even make a move on that play. We just talked about the curve. He didn't even do that. He just flat out blew by the guy. Just too fast. All right. And then right there, inside move. That kind of looked a little bit like Josh Sweat, which people are going to like. Sack against Illinois. So we keep going. Let's stop it here. Let's stop the tape here because it's a field goal if you're watching on YouTube or listening. What did all those plays have in common?
He was on the quarterback in almost no time.
Correct. What I was going for, every single one of those plays was a third down. That is what this guy is. He is an edge rusher who is going to get you a sack on a crucial third down. We just watched a minute and a half of tape, and every single play was him bursting by a tackle on a crucial third down, getting to the quarterback and flattening him. Half the time the ball comes out. Half the time it's a turnover. And if it's not, the team is punting. That's what Arnold Ebiketie is going to bring to one of these teams. He is going to be a difference maker on third downs because there is no tackle that can stay in front of him.
So I kind of tipped my hand on my little note with him, 3rd and 12. Now it's 4th and 1,000,000.
4th and 1,000,000. Punt the ball from your own 20.
he has some of the best pass rush technique in the draft. And there's a lot of good draft pass rushers in this draft. He's some of the most refined technique. He generated pressure in 2.5 seconds or less on 6% of pass rush snaps.
That's pretty solid. That is like less than 3 seconds to throw the ball. Less than 3 seconds to throw the ball.
I'm not even going to get into the negatives because I don't care.
No,
he's a very fun guy.
This is a fun tape to watch. This one and Daxton Hill were my two favorites to watch. Jameson Williams obviously was electric, but I'm just thinking like defensively, just impact players, forcing turnovers, making big plays on third downs, things that the Eagles lacked last year. These guys would be difference makers. So I kind of already, like you said, I tipped my hand when we were going through the third down plays, but just the elite athleticism and explosiveness where tackles cannot stay in front of this guy. He's too fast. Kind of like Jason Oweh last year out of Penn State, where he kind of fell because he didn't have the sack numbers, but then he made an impact for the Ravens. This is kind of similar. Just guy who can fly by. Bends around that corner in a hurry. I thought this could be good for the Cowboys as a Randy Gregory replacement, because that's kind of what Randy Gregory was able to do for them is make a lot of third down plays, get to the quarterback in a hurry. He's not going to be a 3-down lineman, so he's like the anti-Jordan Davis, where you got Jordan Davis in on first and second. He creates the 2nd and 12, the 3rd and 12, and then you bring Arnold on the field, and he gets the sack on 3rd and 12 to force the punt. Combine those guys together. All of a sudden, you got a defensive line. I think for the Eagles, if you're pairing Arnold Ebiketie with Josh Sweat, those two bending around the corners, that is going to be something for tackles are going to be looking like turnstiles out there. This would be awesome.
I think the Cowboys would love them. They were like, it worked. Penn State defense worked last year. Let's just try it again.
Yeah, they're like, whoa, elite athleticism out of Penn State. Sign us up. Worked the first time. Different position, but it all counts.
He's another one of those guys, like super high floor. Ceiling might not be the highest of the edge rushers, and that's why he's mocked to go 2nd round. But still not a guy you're upset about whose floor is super high.
Yeah, and he's going to be another guy. He probably has a 2nd round grade, but he's probably another guy that's valued in the 30s. If he goes at 24, the Cowboys fans going to be mad? No, probably not. You're going to just see so much fluctuation on draft night because with only 15 guys getting a first-round draft grade is the report, it's just going to be who you fall in love with, who these GMs really like, who do they value, what positions do they value. You can see things that are determined as a reach that probably aren't really a reach because the difference between the guy who's ranked 16th and the guy who's ranked 32nd is very minimal. And Arnold Ebiketie is going to be that. He could go at 36 or he could go at 24. It's really not going to be that much of a talent gap between those two guys.
Yeah, we keep talking about this scenario where the Eagles stay at 15, possibly trade up if they have to, but then they trade back from 18, and then they have those 2 picks in like the mid-20s to late 30s. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many options for them in that area that I like all of them.
Draft optionality is everything I'm about, and they're about positional versatility. So it's all about those options there for him. So I think that's a great prospect. I think he's going to he's going to know his role, and he's going to play it well when he gets to the league. And he did it really well this past year, just flying off the line past tackles. So that's Arnold Ebiketie. Loved his tape. So that was the edge rusher. And again, Jermaine Johnson, love him. I just don't think we have a chance. That's the only reason why we didn't do it. Let's get into our last prospect. Very last one, the unicorn, the white whale for the Eagles that I want so badly, but I know not to get my hopes up. Let's finish with a Georgia guy because we love this Georgia defense. Linebacker, Nakobe Dean. So this is one of my favorite plays of the college football season is when he had this pick 6, where it was like 3-0 Georgia for the longest time in that game. And then it was 24-0 at halftime. And it all happened in about 5 minutes of real time. So that was the pick 6 there. So you're going to see a lot of this here on the film where, again, an interception. Sideline to sideline, speed and athleticism from Dean. That's where you really want because linebackers, the role of linebacker has completely changed in the NFL these days. You need to be able to cover. You need to be able to beat running backs to the edge. You need to be able to cover tight ends. That's what Nakobe Dean is. He's got that speed. He's got that burst. He's got that athleticism. People don't like how small he is. I get that because he's going to get beat up on some blocks. But I think you know what he does well and how to utilize him. And it's all about the speed. For a team that took Davion Taylor in the 3rd round because they loved his speed sideline to sideline, that's what Nakobe Dean does well. You saw in that play, no one blocked him, and he immediately was in the backfield and was able to tackle the running back there. Again, untouched, too much speed, sack. That Arkansas game, I don't even remember. They ransacked Arkansas. We gave all that praise to their offense. Georgia had no problem destroying them. What do you got on Dean for me?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my notes on him. So I did have Tiny as one of my notes, but the note right above that is weapon. He's an absolute weapon.
Absolute weapon.
Like you said, anyone that's gonna be able to block him is not nearly as fast as him. And as a shorter guy that is, I live in Center City. I'm around crowds a lot. It's much easier to just kind of bob and weave your way through crowds when you're a little guy.
Yeah, very true. And listen, if the Eagles have a really strong defensive line, as they should, and maybe they take one of his teammates and bolster that defensive line, then you're really not worried about him in run-stopping coverage. You kind of know what you want out of him. And I really like the Kazir White signing. Hassan Reddick is an edge rusher, but there's still a hole that they've had for years in terms of linebackers and coverage. It's Alex Singleton. It's Nathan Gary. It's Eric Wilson. It's like all these guys who just didn't work. And they got that linebacker from the Chargers who ended up, unfortunately, like retiring. And they've tried all of these guys as these coverage linebackers, and it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. And TJ Edwards, can he be that coverage guy? I don't think so. So it's just, and Davion Taylor, like he wasn't healthy last year. You want him to be that guy, but it's been 2 or 3 years now, and it hasn't happened yet. So you still have that hole. This kid plugs that hole for him.
It's another one of those my weaknesses and my strengths type thing where like he's a DB sized linebacker, but he needs the versatility to be able to cover as a quasi DB. So it's not really a bad thing.
In high school, we called that rover, where you played linebacker and safety because you were the size of a safety, but you got that dog mentality of a linebacker and you could tackle real well. And you called it rover. I'd say Nakobe Dean fits that rover personality where he might be smaller, but you can see the appeal. And it is the speed, and it is the range, and it is ability to get on you in a hurry.
Maybe one of my favorite notes from the night, just because of how straightforward it is: elite range and closing speed.
Correct. Easiest one. That's the simplest one we got, and you can see the appeal, especially in today's day and age as the football game progresses. It's a lot more passing.
Does it feel like no one's talking about him though?
Yes, it's weird, right? That's what I wanted to do him, just because he's going to be in that middle range. He's a guy that we liked. The Eagles haven't taken a linebacker in 40 years. And I can't tell, do people just don't like him? Or is this one of those things where people don't want to tip their hand? I can't tell with this kid. Yeah. He had one top 30 visit, and it was with the Detroit Lions. It's like, is he going to fall? Are they thinking he's going to fall to the beginning of the second round? Because that just doesn't seem to add up with everyone's review of his talent and just like where he would fall. It just doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Where was he on the sharp analysis big board in terms of players? Let's take a look here, because it's just so weird to me that no one is really just kind of talking about him. And then all of a sudden you hear about him being like the number one linebacker in the draft class, and like he's better than Devin Lloyd, like he's better than all these guys. And then it's like, all right, then why is no one taking a meeting with this kid? And you don't hear about any like red flags, right? He's the 15th overall best player on the sharp analysis big board. Hello? sound the alarms. It's pick 15 right here. I don't know what's going on. He's
I think you have a
intrigued.
good point,
I don't know what I want to do.
It's a lot of teams that don't want to tip their hand.
I think so.
I think he might just be one of these players where like don't even need to meet with him. Like if he's there, we're taking him.
Yeah, that could be it. And maybe like you've done enough that you know.
Yeah, and the Lions probably just felt fine meeting with him because like we pick at 2 and we pick at 32. You have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah. Wild card, baby.
Yeah,
and they're a team too. Like they could be like, all right, at 32, we can move up into the 20s and snag this kid if he's there, or it could fall to us at 32. Who knows? Depending on how the board is playing out. I'd be shocked if you were there at 32. I've never seen something like this where everybody loves him. There are no character red flags, and yet you don't hear about anyone being super high on him in terms of like trading up to drafting. Like George Pickens, his teammate, the wide receiver, I heard multiple people say he could end up being the best wide receiver in the draft. And a lot of people said he's not going to be the top receiver in the draft because they're really worried about who he is as a person. And Nakobe Dean keeps falling, and you don't hear that stuff about him.
I feel like were people talking about Micah that much last year either?
They said about the character concerns. Like that is his issue. And he didn't play the season before because of the COVID.
It's a whole different situation.
Yeah. This, you watched him be on the greatest defense since the freaking Sean Taylor Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, you know what? If he goes second overall to the Lions, you heard it here first. How about that?
Yeah. I'm sure you can get pretty good odds on that. That'd be hilarious. It would be a very, very Detroit move for sure.
To completely reach on somebody?
Yes, like an insane reach at 2. So that's Nakobe Dean. That's the only linebacker that we did. The Eagles don't really value linebacker, but it was a very intriguing prospect who is right smack dab in the middle in terms of talent and projection. So that does it. Covered a lot of positions. Covered our defensive line. We covered our secondary. Obviously the wide receivers. If you're here for the Eagles portion of this, we're talking trade ups, trade downs, trade up at 15, trade down at 18, question mark. Who knows? Could you kind of trade down and kind of help yourself up to get up at 51? A lot here, a lot of positions that they need. Howie Roseman himself has said we're not one guy away, which makes this all the more intriguing. So, Vince, any last thoughts on the prospect breakdown? We didn't get to everybody, but I think we got to a lot.
There are no odds on the Kobe Dean that goes second overall, but there are odds on Matt Corral. So,
are you purposely doing the name thing?
Matt Corral.
I think
it was a coin flip.
Yeah. That would be a twist. That would help the Eagles a ton.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who reaches, because then you're like, oh, it's one less team that took a guy I wanted.
I really hope. I don't hope, but there would be part of me who's like, wish we would have done him. Like one of these guys in the top 10, Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, all these guys that I didn't think we had a chance at, so we didn't do the breakdown. And you get the notification, the Eagles have traded up to pick 8. You're like, oh shit, are we going to get one of these guys? And I'll be like, oh, I wish we did the breakdown on these guys. Just felt they were 200.
Well, here's one guy we could have done the breakdown on. So his draft position is 16.5. It's Trent McDuffie.
No, I refuse. I have morals and principles, and I will not do a breakdown of Pac-12 players. Don't care. Don't want it.
How terrified are you of him being there at 15?
Vince, I don't think you realize like the stakes of Thursday night. We're going to be in the third quarter of Sixers game. Game 6 of playoff series with the Eagles' possibility of taking a wide receiver from USC or a cornerback from Washington. This could be it. We've joked about this. No, this could be it. Like you will never hear from me again. This could be the last time you hear my voice.
Can you imagine? We lose. The Sixers lose because their guard from Washington can't play. Not only can he not play, he can't even play when he's there. When he's eligible to play, he can't play. And then they could also draft a cornerback from Washington and just completely end all hopes of anything in this city ever being good ever again.
I will not be mentally okay. It will not be good. It will not be good. We got to end it on a positive note. No, we got to end it on positive. That was really good. I like a lot of these names. I think this will be an insane draft because it's not a loaded draft class. And also the quarterback thing is really weird this year where they're kind of weak. So does anyone trade up or take them? So there's going to be a lot of options and optionality in the draft and things you consider reaches that might not be reaches. So I think it'll be really fun and it's going to keep everybody on their toes.
Yeah, maybe the Raiders take a quarterback. They really
that would be hilarious if they did, if they took like Matt Corral or something like that. But we've done a lot of breakdowns. We plan on keep going straight through the draft. Check out our mock drafts if you haven't already. We're going to be doing one last final one before the draft. And then during the draft, there will be a live stream live on our YouTube and the Twitter page, Birds vs. Boys, at Birds vs. Boys on Twitter. And obviously you can find it here if you're on the YouTube page. So that should be fun. That should be exciting. A lot that can happen on draft night. Can't wait to see it. Vince, you got anything left?
Nope. We'll just hope this isn't the last time we're both ever recording something.
That is for the Eagles and the Sixers to determine. All right. That was fun. I love doing these breakdowns. Can't wait to go back and watch a lot more film and talk myself into 6 more guys before Thursday night. I know it'll happen, and I will see you then for the live stream.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yeah. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upset alert. Upset alert.
I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
Hope.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope. I'm going to drink bleach.
That
Be
it?
the team you promised me you were going to be this year!
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.